Hello everyone, my name is Dr. Eric Rubinstein and I am an assistant professor of choral music education at the Aaron Copland School of Music at Queens College. Unfortunately, we cannot be in person with you this summer, but I do look forward to regrouping and presenting you with an in-person program next summer, 2021. We so much appreciate your interest and commitment to the NYSSSA School of Choral and Vocal Studies. So members of our artistic faculty have prepared a variety of tutorials and resources for you to continue on in your education this summer. I would like to focus specifically on the art of conducting. Many of your experiences may be from school ensembles or church choirs or community experiences, but have you ever taken the time to think about the relationship between conductor and singer? What is a conductor's purpose? Are they painting a picture? Are they directing traffic? In order to further inform our own conducting gesture, we must first decide what our role actually is. Conductors are musical guides, people that facilitate a composer's intent. Conducting styles often take many forms: orchestral, choral, marching band, head bob from behind the piano. It is through this nonverbal discourse that we entrust conductors as musical leaders. I always start a beginning conducting seminar with a game of charades. What are the similarities between your perception of conducting and playing a game of charades? They both ascribe to nonverbal gesture. They both utilize full body and facial expression. Their successes rely on clear communication. And only one person is in the driver's seat, so to speak.
He's a focused individual. Okay, he looks concerned, but now he's
Button it up. Okay,
yeah, he's looking
right.
confident.
It's a movie. 3 words. The third word. Song. Sing. I want to sing. I'm singing. I'm singing in the rain. Okay, second word. Ring. The wedding singer.
Before we can begin with actual conducting gesture, we must first discuss appropriate body posture and alignment. The appropriate alignment for a conductor is quite synonymous with that of a singer. Feet should be shoulder width apart, with weight equally displaced on both feet. A tall, elongated spine, with arms at your sides and your head resting comfortably on your cervical spine. If you're unsure what arms at your sides feel like, if you do a couple of shoulder rolls back and then you stop at the base of the shoulder, you'll feel not only arms at your sides, but a nice broad open sternum and a nice relaxed open gait. So again, feet shoulder width apart with weight equally displaced on both feet. A nice tall, elongated spine with arms at your sides. Now that we're here, take your right hand. So in the video viewer, it will look different than mine. So make sure it is your right, it is your conducting dominant hand. And with your thumb, feel the base of your sternum. If you make sure that your forearm is parallel to the floor, once you have found the base of your sternum, using the fulcrum of your elbow, gently rotate your elbow and your arm out until you are now reaching out into the sagittal plane. Sagittal meaning depth, okay? This would be the appropriate place for your dominant gestural hand. For easy reference, here's a trick. Envision a stove top. There are front burners, there's a set of front burners, and there are a set of back burners. If you take your dominant, your primary gestural hand, and you put it on the back burner, you'll notice not only is your elbow slightly away from your body, you're creating breath and space underneath your arm, but you are using the entire range of motion by rotating the elbow slightly out that way. You are not too far forward where you're reaching out, but you're not too far back that you may be giving misinformation. So base of the sternum rotated out with nice space under the arm and the elbow slightly up. This will give you a broader range of motion. Lastly, I mentioned the sagittal plane, sagittal depth. There are two other conducting planes that should be considered: the horizontal plane and the vertical plane. And the impetus of conducting gesture is a series of movements through each plane. So we have a number of options: the horizontal, the vertical, and the sagittal. So one more time: feet shoulder length apart, weight equally displaced on both feet, with a nice open sternum and open gait, base of the sternum rotated out, feeling the full fulcrum of your wrist and your elbow, and now you are ready to begin. So now that we've discussed breath, posture, and alignment, I'd like to now begin the discussion on the anatomy of actual conducting gesture. Most conductors or young conductors assume that the only important aspect to effective and clear conducting gesture is the actual beat. I'm here to tell you that there are actually three concepts that adhere to effective conducting gesture: the actual beat, or what we refer to as takt, the rebound, and the travel. Rebound is exactly the way it sounds. So think of a basketball. When a basketball strikes the ground, that is synonymous with our takt. Once the basketball strikes the ground, it comes back up into our hand. That is the rebound. It is the natural movement in response to the initial gestural. Now, the travel is, again, exactly the way it sounds. It is the distance between individual beats. So in a 4 pattern, let's say, we have the initial takt, there's a slight rebound, and then there's a travel to the next beat. With specific to the rebound, it's important to identify that generally rebounds happen in the opposite direction in which you are now wanting to travel. So for instance, in a 4 pattern, beat 1 comes straight down. It will eventually go to beat 2, which is to your left, which means the rebound from beat 1 happens slightly to the right. Okay? So a diagram of a 4 pattern, of a traditional 4 pattern, looks like this. 1 with a slight rebound, travel to 2, slight rebound, travel to 3, slight rebound, travel to 4, which exists between beats 1 and 3, and then comes back up to begin your next 4 pattern. To demonstrate, it looks like this. 1, rebound to 2, rebound to 3, rebound to 4, and back up. Aside from the 4 pattern, the most commonly used patterns are 3 and 2. The 3 and 2 patterns begin in the same way the 4 pattern begins. So let's look at a 3 pattern first. The initial descent comes straight down, but unlike the 4 pattern, the 3 pattern actually moves to the right first. So if we move to the right first, the rebound of beat 1 happens slightly to the left in order to then travel to the right. The rebound happens slightly to the right, travels in between beats 1 and 2 to then come up and prepare for the next 3 pattern. Here is the demonstration. 1 rebound, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Lastly is the 2 pattern. The 2 patterns, similar to the 4 and 3 patterns, begin with an initial descent, which is vertical to the tacht. However, it doesn't stop in the same way the others do. It forms a J shape, an opposite capital J, before it then comes up. So we've got 1, 2, 1, 2. This J hook is actually considered the rebound of beat 1. Here it is again. 1 rebound, 2, 1, 2. The one element that makes a 2 pattern slightly different than the 4 and the 3 patterns is that on the initial descent, beat 1 must exist underneath the second beat. So we've got 1 which is lower and 2 which is higher. That's really the one main difference between the 2, the 3, and the 4 patterns. Now, while these patterns seem to be more appropriate with simple meters, these are also what we as conductors would use to portray compound meters as well. So, for instance, in a 2 pattern, instead of just 1, 2, 1, 2, we might use a 2 pattern for 6, 8, let's say. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And there are compound meters that lend itself more appropriate with 3 patterns and 4 patterns as well. So again, these patterns are used in traditional conducting practice, but can be used in a variety of different ways depending on whether it is symmetrical or asymmetrical time signatures and whether it is simple or compound. Now that we've mastered the 3 most widely used gestural patterns, I would like to challenge you to find pieces of music that can help practice the 4, the 3, and the 2 patterns. In my opinion, the best conducting practice is the opportunity to find ways to sing and conduct simultaneously. For example, a 4 pattern may be best used for a song like Mary Had a Little Lamb. Remember, the beat 2 goes towards the body first, even though it may look different the way that I'm demonstrating. Mary had a little lamb, little lamb, little lamb. The 3 pattern, for example, may be best suited for My Country 'Tis of Thee. My country 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Now I will leave it to you to find a piece of music that will help you practice the 2 pattern. Before we wrap up, I would like to offer some additional exercises that will not only improve the coordination of your gestural hand, but will also help you practice hand independence. Much of our successes rely on the ability to give some information with our primary gestural hand or our right hand, and then give different information with our left hand. So I would like to offer you some strategies to help differentiate one from the other. So the first, going up and down the vertical plane, moving in unison, just up and down together. And then to switch directions, still utilizing the vertical plane. And this may seem relatively easy until you put one tempo in one hand and you put a much slower tempo in the other hand. That will help you think of your right hand independently from your left. The same exercise applies using the horizontal plane. So they move in unison like we did before. Then they move in opposition. And then the third step, again, would be putting a faster tempo in one hand, a slower tempo in another hand, but keeping each individual tempo consistent. So that's exercise number 1. Exercise number 2 is utilizing the sagittal plane, is utilizing depth. So with your right hand, pointer finger, in a circular motion, move the pointer finger away from the body, away from the body. With your left pointer finger, move this finger towards the body. They are each in circular motion, but they're each moving in opposition of one another. So that's exercise number 2, pretty handy exercise number 2. The last exercise, and probably the most difficult exercise, is maintaining a gestural pattern in your dominant hand, so in your right hand, while tracing your 2 ears and your nose with the left hand. So it will cross your body, ear, nose, ear. We'll go back to the first ear, ear, nose, ear. So in a way, that is almost like a 3 pattern in itself, right? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Doesn't seem too daunting until you put a 4 pattern in your right hand. Okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Now when you add the ears, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so you have a 4 pattern in your hand against a 3 pattern tracing your face. It doesn't necessarily need to be a 4 pattern in your right hand. A 3 pattern would certainly be easy because it's 3 against 3. But doing a 2 pattern in the right while keeping 3, that will also encourage you, challenge you to think about what your right hand is doing versus what your left hand is doing. That will ultimately make you a more flexible conductor.